Mets fans, that is not how we were hoping this Saturday matchup would go. How we doing, everybody? It's your guy Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest New York Mets post-game breakdown here on the WardyNYM platform, presented by our amazing sponsors at SeatGeek that have you covered for all of your ticketing needs. Make sure to utilize our promo code WARDY10, that is WARDY10, for 10% off your next ticket purchase. Link down below for you guys to check out. And Mumu, the official trading platform of the New York Mets, but we will get into them later on this one, folks. I want to see your initial reactions. I want to see your frustration level. I want to see everything in between, everyone watching live on a replay, as the Mets falter tonight in a rather frustrating fashion, because while this was not a loss where you're hanging your head saying, oh my God, it was the worst of the season by this Mets team, you did know that heading into this Game 2 matchup, the Mets had an opportunity to really make a statement in Cincy against these Reds. This comes after the cardiac heart attack type of save for Edwin Diaz of the Mets, their 5-4 victory last night that we broke down. Fast forward 24 hours later, Jonathan toes the rubber for his second career MLB start. He allows just 3 hits, all which were out of the ballpark. Jonathan has allowed a total of just 2 home runs the entire year in the minor leagues, and today he surpassed that by giving up 3 long balls to this Reds offense. We'll get into what Jonathan did not work out well in the beginning of this outing with that fastball and changeup usage, especially how he was able to hanker down and give the Mets still 6 rock-solid innings of work in the 5th with a huge double play ball, and then cruising there in the 6th inning. There were certainly positives to take away from Jonathan today, all things considered, even in today, where he's given up the long ball one too many times. So we're going to talk about the pros and the cons for Jonathan's second career start, why no Mets fan should be ragging the young 22-year-old, because if you are, you're a schmuck through and through. Jonathan is not the reason why the Mets lost the ballgame today. The reason why the Mets lost the ballgame is because really for one of the few times over the past month, the Mets decided not to show up with their offense. Brady Singer was cruising against this Mets team. The Mets had an abundance of opportunities to score with runners in scoring position and simply had nothing to show for in this one that we're going to break down inning by inning here in a second. Everybody hit that like and subscribe button on your way and help us get 100 likes for our first short-term goal. Help us get to 35,000 subscribers here for all things Mets content. Cover the Mets every single day throughout the course of not only the 162 but the 365 that is a calendar year. Everybody help us get to 35k, because we're giving away a Mets jersey to one lucky subscriber once we hit that milestone. And I'm not going to come out here kicking and screaming today. Yes, am I pissed off with the Mets not getting enough done offensively today? No doubt about it. This was a game the Mets absolutely should have had, in my opinion. This was a game within reach, and now we get set for a rubber match day game tomorrow, where Hunter Green, the flame-throwing young right-hander, has been dominant all year long for the Reds, is throwing the rubber against Brandon Sproat, our young, exciting right-hander, but our inexperienced right-hander who's getting set for his major league debut. As I told you all in content over the past 48 to 72 hours, do not be surprised if one or both of these young Mets starters gets rocked a little bit in Cincy. The Reds, as we know, are in this heavy playoff push, trailing the Mets by multiple games on the wild card right now. And the batter's box, that is Cincy, is no joke. That is why the ball was flying out. I assure you that not every home run that was hit off of Jonathan today would have been guaranteed home runs there at Citi Field. I could be wrong, but I'm feeling fairly confident saying that with the way that the ball flew out, especially in the second home run in which Cedric Mullins just missed after making a great attempt on a liner home run there to center right field. That was another bomb where I was really saying to myself, if we're at Citi right now, that's probably a fly out on the wall, or at least it felt that way. So Jonathan, again, had some unfortunate luck with that high fastball that we'll get into. This offense, though, was by all accounts the main reason as to why the Mets lost this ball game. And before you say to yourself, well, Wardy, it's not a great idea to have your ball game early down 3-4 runs. While I get that, and I understand how it's not encouraging for an offense, in that same breath, we know that Jonathan needs some support here, as is the case with Noah McLean and Brandon Sproat. The beauty about these young players is that Noah McLean hasn't needed any help to this point. Brandon Sproat might need a little to none tomorrow, or he might need endless help from this Mets bullpen and offense. But Jonathan making his second career MLB start, the last thing we're going to do today is rag on the long balls, but rather, how did he make his adjustments? Where did he not fare nearly as well in making said adjustments? And what can he do better his next time out there? Because before you guys gripe and say to yourself, oh, the starter can't get the job done, well, maybe, just maybe, if the Mets had competence from their veterans in Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga, Clay Holmes, and David Pearson, we wouldn't be in a predicament where we're having to rely on our top pitching prospects for 3 consecutive days in a row. Today was Tong, tomorrow's Sprout, and Monday, in which I will be in attendance there for Game 1 in Philadelphia. Yeah, folks, we're going live, exiting the ballpark from the bank on Philly. I might get jumped, things might get bananas, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it nonetheless, and the heat of rivalry between the Mets and the Phillies this Monday. But McClain's towing the rubber then, folks, so we're going to get into all of Mets land from this ball game, the key takeaways, and everything that you guys need to know. As you guys can see along with me, again, the pitching, Jonathan, I want your final line grades for how Jonah fared today once we get down to breaking down his arsenal. Before then, do not tell me, so we will do it on a scale of 1 to 10, as we always do. Ryan Stanek, more like Ryan Stanek is advertised, sadly. This was coming right after a day of Ryan Stanek having Houdini magic escaping a jam that he had for David Pearson a night prior. Today, not so much, because the Mets, again, want nothing to do with Ryan Helsley. They don't have to. That's why Ryan Helsley was not utilized in this ball game today. Kevin Herget comes in, and he goes 1.2 shutty. He's far from the problem, obviously. And then we saw this Mets offense try to rally late, as we saw guys like Francisco Lindor get on base. Lindor was unbelievable today. Lindor now 10 consecutive at-bats, getting on base, or play appearances rather, where he got on base. That ended after his 3rd at-bat today, but then at his 4th at-bat had his 33rd double of the season, everybody, which put him in scoring position for Juan Soto. Soto poked a single there right away to opposite field, but they left those runners stranded there in the 9th inning as Emilio Pagan got the job done. And this is how the ball game ended, folks, when you look at the Mets offense. And a key note to make in regards to this Mets offense is their lack of hitting with runners in scoring position. Since August 1st, the Mets have the best team batting average in all baseball, not just the National League, and all baseball with heading and scoring position. Today, however, they were putrid. They were 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position today, and they left a total of 10 on base. This comes after going 3 for 10 yesterday, leaving 9 on base as well, but it didn't hurt as much because the Mets were still able to score 5 runs to the Reds' 4. Mets entered today's game with a 362 or so team batting average with runners in scoring position. That continues to drop a little bit after the bats outside of Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor. Yes, for those that don't know, Jared Young had himself a tremendous pinch hit bomb, and this one came out of nowhere. Crazy enough to believe that, yes, that was the first pinch hit home run the Mets have hit this season. They haven't hit one since the 2024 season when Mr. OMG and JD Martinez still a part of the organization. Kind of crazy to fathom, but that is in fact a fact. Cedric Mullins continues to be a liability with the bat. While he was a plus runner today, stole a bag, which led to a Mets run, thanks to Brandon Nimmo bringing him in with a sac fly. Outside of that, though, Mullins is on a current 0 for 22 skid right now, and he has been nothing short of, at best, a lateral move for this Mets team, and adding a center field option that is not named Tyrone Taylor at this year's deadline. It's unfortunate. I don't have any ill will against Mullins. He just has not been that guy at all with the bat, has not adjusted nearly as well as we'd hoped since arriving with the Mets. And while the base running is great, the defense is a noodle arm in center field. The power is very lackadaisical with the offense, and the hitting approach has just been so night and day. We know that he had reverse splits as the Mets acquired him, as he was raking against lefties, was laboring against righties. Well, we're seeing that basically in any situation he's put in, he's just not giving you nearly as much of the quality at-bats as of late that you're hoping for as a Mets fan. Francisco Alvarez came in late in this ball game and had himself a pinch-hit opportunity, but he promptly struck out swinging. As he was not actually striking out swinging, he was caught looking on what was a long hold there by the reliever in the 8th inning for the Reds, and then he gets him back, a little backdoors him there with a nasty breaking ball down the pipe, and that did it there for the inning to strand multiple runners on. So let's get to the top here. Let's break it all down. Thank you guys so much for the donations and the comments. I greatly appreciate that. As I said, hit that like and subscribe on your way, and I want to know exactly how we're feeling, folks. I want to know not only what is your frustration level on the Mets dropping this ball game. As we currently take a look at the standings, the Mets now just have a 3.5 game lead on the Giants, and it's going to be 3 as long as the Giants win today against the Cardinals. They're currently up 2-0 heading in the bottom of the 8th inning, and one of the key contributors for the Giants yet again today was, yes, Drew Gilbert. Drew Gilbert had himself an RBI opposite field double first pitch swinging earlier in this ball game. And Drew Gilbert has had a far greater impact for the Giants, and unfortunately what Tyler Rogers has done for the Mets to this point. Yes, he's played some bad teams in the Cardinals and the Rockies and the Orioles, but let's give credit where credit's due. Drew Gilbert has now been a focal point behind the Giants, getting themselves on a run now, on the cusp of winning 11 of their past 12 games or so. They've been on a huge heater. The Reds are still 5 games back, but they're tied with the Arizona Diamondbacks, so they still have a lot more groundwork to do. That's why if the Mets can secure the series victory tomorrow, it's vital, not only in their playoff standing right now as they continue to flip-flop with the Padres. They were tied with the Padres yesterday, and I believe had the tiebreaker on them yesterday, but that changed as they are now 1 game more in the loss column than San Diego at the time of us talking right now, and San Diego is currently up 6-2 in the 5th in Colorado against those Rockies. So let's hop back here. Juliet, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Juliet states the following with the membership: it is frustrating that we are in the position to have to rely on rookies instead of these veterans not doing their damn job. I have no complaints about Tong. 100% agree. Again, we know what Tong did wrong today. We all know what Tong did wrong today. He knows what he did wrong today. But there was not one single point in this ballgame where watching Jonah Tong, I was saying to myself, oh, he's the reason why we're going to lose today. No, it comes down to a Mets offense that simply cannot get the job done when they had more than enough ample opportunity to actually score with runners in scoring position. As Juan Soto has stated himself, they salivate at the mouth. They get excited when they see the guys in scoring position. They go bananas, as Soto has said it himself. Well, the Mets went far from bananas today when it came to guys in scoring position. They rolled over and died instead for the most part. Thank you so much for the donation, Peter. Holla, San Francisco Giant Mets. I know, it is funny, but listen, that's what happens when you give up Budo, Gilbert, and Blade Tidwell. Of course, you're going to see more of those guys in Giants uniforms, and Dom Smith, who's currently there, among others. One final thing I really do want to make a note of here, that before we break down this ball game today, this is not going to be too long-winded of a post-game show, everybody. Again, nothing about this game was flashy, and nothing about this game I could really spit it in a way to fit a certain narrative on what the bats were horrendous at or what the pitching was horrendous at. It was just one of those ball games where, unfortunately, the Mets didn't win. You know how there's games where, they just don't have it? Today was one of those days. You can be as pissed off as you want about it. They have to bounce right back tomorrow, and that's all we can hope for at this point in time. But we did find out some unbelievably unfortunate news early today, which took the baseball world by shock, including myself. Not that this was impossible for the man given his age, but just rather the very unfortunate circumstances of the reality of it. Folks, as we know, Davey Johnson, longtime not only stud Major League player, a multi-time All-Star, a multi-time World Series champ there going back in the late 60s, early 70s, as well as a World Series champ as a manager for the New York Mets back in 1986, two-time manager of the year, once in the American League and then once in the National League there in 2012 with the Washington Nationals. Davey Johnson has sadly passed away today at the age of 82. So my condolences are with the entire Davey Johnson family. I unfortunately did not get the privilege of watching the Mets in 1986 live because I just wasn't a thought yet. My parents were far more concerned on just getting their young lives started versus focusing on, we're going to work on making a little Wardy here. But Davey Johnson was a focal point behind that Mets team back in 86 and a focal point in so many ways across Major League Baseball, across multiple decades that he positively impacted the game. Johnson leaves behind not only his family and loved ones, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions of baseball fans who have been directly impacted by him in more ways than one. So again, it's unfortunate that I personally never got a chance to witness Davey, really at his best when it came to as a manager, let alone a player, but I greatly appreciate not only all the history that I've learned about him during his time with the Mets, but ultimately the great impact that he has had on the game of baseball across multiple decades, as I mentioned. So once more, my condolences with the entire Davey Johnson family and friends in this time of grief. I'm going to hold a quick 30-second to a minute moment of silence here in the live show, and then we're going to continue on. Rest in peace, Mr. Johnson. We're all going to miss you, especially all of our diehard Mets fans who were impacted greatly by that 86 team. You guys know exactly how much of a positive impact that he had on you guys, and the quotes that man had were horrendous. I think back not horrendous, hilarious rather. I think back going to the great doc that ESPN came out with 2 years ago which was, on the 1986 Mets run, and Davey's impact in that and so many others, and all the other things I've seen over the years on Johnson and his connection with the Mets and what he's done since then and before then. Just a tremendous human being in more ways than one. And again, I'm thinking about his entire family during this time of grief right now. I really am. A somber note as we continue going on from Davey Johnson's passing and now getting on to breaking down the ball game. But I would love to hear one thing from everyone watching live on a replay. If you guys were a Mets fan that had a chance to appreciate that 1986 team, what is one moment that stands out to you most during Davey Johnson's tenure as Mets manager? Is it, a certain decision that he made late in a ball game heading into playoffs? Is it a reaction that he had in a post-game interview? Whatever the case may be, I would love to hear your thoughts in the live show and or replay viewers. Thank you so much again for doing that. I really, really do appreciate it. Let's see. I deserve to see the Mets win a World Series reign this year. I hope so, my guy. As long as I get at least one before I pass, I'll be happy. The bar's low here as someone who has yet to witness an actual championship in their lifetime as a diehard sports fan. Final thing, and then let's break down this ball game. Every single sports team that I'm a fan of, I haven't gotten a chance to actually watch in their championship ways. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so Jets fans hate me for the next 24 hours, and that's fine. I don't care. I hope Aaron Rodgers goes absolutely man-possessed against you guys in MetLife tomorrow against Justin Fields and the Jets. I cannot wait for tomorrow's game. It's going to be a lot of fun. But having said that, my first year really locking in on the Steelers as a true football fan, watching every single game, a diehard, not a casual, the way that I was in 08-09 area when they won against the Cardinals, because again, I was only 8 or 9 years of age. It was hard to lock in at that time. But I was 12, my first year of locking in on football, and I watched every single game for the Steelers. I was so devoted to them, and my first year fully locked in on them. They went ahead and lost the Super Bowl to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers after beating the Jets in the AFC Championship. So it's like, on one hand, Jets fans are still sour with the Steelers going back to 2012, but at the same time, I'm still sour with Aaron Rodgers, who's now my quarterback. So this is a very conflicting thing now after the damage I did to me at the age of 12. I skipped my next day of school because I could not handle my Eagles fan math teacher chomping at the bit to rag on me, knowing I'm a Steelers fan that was going to be upset going into class the next day. So I said, let's put a rain check for at least one more day before I had to head back. Then the New York Mets. I've always been a Mets fan, as you guys know, but I've not been locked in on the Mets daily, where like I live and breathe them since really 2015. And to see the Mets and my first year really locked in on them do what they did in 2015, but still falter, that sucked. But at the same time, I was so excited to really lock more in on baseball as the Mets gave me such a high, to really lock in on, to be like, okay, I'm going to love the Mets every single day, no matter what. That was that point. Then it's hockey. New York Rangers. They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to Adam Henrique in overtime, and the Devils go on to lose then in the Stanley Cup to the LA Kings. I know my Devils fans love those moments, don't love the moments in the Stanley Cup, but the point stands is, again, every single team that I've been locked in on, they either lost in the championship or the championship of their division. And then the Rangers went on to then lose in the Stanley Cup shortly after to the LA Kings a couple seasons later. So it's unfortunate. It's just one of those things. So I look forward to when I hopefully at some point in my lifetime get a chance to appreciate New York, winning championships. Let's see, New York Liberty. I got no qualms against Liberty at all, but I'm not an active follower of WNBA, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I am. I'm very casual. I watch the highlights when I see Caitlin Clark do something, Angel Reese. I'm very basic. It has nothing to do with my lack of interest in WNBA versus I don't even have time to commit fully to my fandom as is with all my favorite sports, including me being a big Knicks fan. And I don't get nearly the time to lock in on the Knicks at times as I want to, or Duke for college basketball that I've been a fan of since I was in 5th grade, so there's no bandwagon there. Point stands, I haven't seen a championship. Yes, Duke has won March Madness, but I'm more of a casual college basketball, so I don't want to act like I'm on my high horse knowing exactly what I'm talking about with every aspect of them. So that's enough of my tangent. It's time for us to break down this ball game, even though I know it's not going to be nearly as positive as this one. Nothing about the discussion I just had was positive, but you guys get the point I'm trying to make. Let's not talk about 2014 Rangers were too painful. I know. It's just one of the many painful years as a Ranger fan. It's just one of the many. We know too well, but all right. And Chris Kreider threw a perfect strike towing the rubber for the Angels today as like their celebrity to throw out the first pitch. I was disgusted. I was distraught. And with the $5 holla, Game 6 of the 86 World Series was something I hope you and all Mets fans get a chance to experience. Davey Johnson did that. Yes, he did, and thank you so much for the donation. And learning everything about that 86 Mets team was just nothing short of jaw-droppingly tremendous. From obviously to Buckner going up the middle between his wickets, in which I actually have a signed dual jersey in my bedroom of Bill Buckner and Mookie Wilson. It's a combined jersey that a follower of mine, who has unfortunately since passed here on the platform, was so kind of gift my way in my first year of covering the Mets. Shout out to Joe Fichot. If you guys remember the OG member, very few do, but he was a real one, and he sadly, tragically passed away, got cancer out of nowhere, and he was already at like stage 4 before they knew it in his spine. I literally didn't know that he was on his deathbed until he had passed, and his mom was so gracious enough to actually donate in the live chat and say that he had sadly passed, but she donated because he had relayed how much he was a follower of mine and how much he appreciated the content, which still chokes me up to this day. But all right, enough of me being as depressed as I am right now. Let's talk about something that's slightly less depressed. I mean, a lot more depressing in comparison to obviously losing a life. And that's the Mets dropping this ball game today by a final score of 6-3. So as we get into this one, everybody, let's talk about what the Mets did not do right. And it was a couple things. And Mikey with the donations, thank you so much. Tom was poised even after getting hit. Good sign. He was, absolutely. And thank you so much for the other donation. Not everyone is going to be Paul Skeens, right? No, of course not. And no one's Paul Skeens other than Paul Skeens. So let's bear that in mind as well. Of course, you're going to have people on X, acting like the sky is falling because they're a little, what's in a twist. They live and die with the Mets so much so that the Mets don't do anything but win. They, too, are going to roll over and die for the remainder of that night. It's going to happen. Nature of the beast as a diehard Mets fan, sicko and all. In the first inning, however, Francisco Lindor led off the ballgame with a single. But Lindor, while he was awesome on getting on base consecutively tonight, he was horrendous with his base running. That needs to be called out. The Mets have been amazing with their base running so far that we have seen this season. Like, truly jaw-dropping how good they have been as a team that isn't overly fast. Nothing about this Mets team is that fast, if I'm being honest. And Asia, I am more than ready for Steelers-Jets tomorrow. Hope you are ready for NFL as well. Cannot wait, Asia. Asia, I don't know. I'm trying to blank. I don't know if you're a Giants or a Jets fan, but regardless, I wish the best for you tomorrow, regardless on how things go. I just got to tell you, though, right away, Lindor gets caught stealing between first and second. That didn't bother us nearly as much as to what he did later on in this ball game. Lindor was caught twice, and the second time he was caught, Buddy just looked dumb. He had a decent jump from second, but out by a mile because of what we saw Trevino, the former Yankee, do, and that was throw him out with ease at third base. So I don't know why Lindor thought he had a better jump than what he did there, but just some poor base running by the Mets today that you have to wonder, if that didn't happen, would the Mets have had greater standing to actually win this ball game? Would they have been able to move those runners over and score them? Not entirely sure for a team that, again, finished this ball game still 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Hard to believe that they would have gotten the job done for the most part. But Soto would strike out swinging. Nimmo gets on with a walk, and Alonso, who did not look good yet again today. He was 0 for 5 yesterday with a couple strikeouts. Today, he really didn't do all that much better as he would ground into a force out, which ended the inning. He had himself a hit today, but that's all he had to show. Mario with the $2 donation. Thank you, Mario. Offense was off. Tong settled in. Let's get the dub tomorrow. I wholeheartedly agree. Again, that's why I'm not freaking out. Listen, Mets are going to win games and they're going to lose games no matter how much we want it to not be the case, right? So while I love to kick, I don't love to kick and scream, but while I know I'm prone to kicking and screaming and crying when the Mets lose ball games down the stretch, no point in wasting my breath in days when they just didn't have it. There's games where they should have had it and they didn't have it. Today, they just didn't have it. It was pretty much from the start to the finish here. I remember Davey Johnson's calming presence, and I was at a game when they clinched the Mets to make playoffs when they flooded the field. That's all. Mark, crazy enough, my mom was at that game as well. And yes, my mom was one of those schmuck fans back in the day that didn't realize the significance of taking a chunk out of Shea. And yes, she absolutely took a little piece of grass along with her and soil. Unfortunately, she no longer has it with her. I think it's gotten lost as we moved from New York to Pennsylvania. But yes, she was one of those. Absolutely. She bolted on the field just like everyone else did when they clinched, and it was an electric moment then, as is now present day all these decades later. Asia, thank you so much for becoming a member again. I appreciate that. And you're a Giant fan. I thought so. I just want to double check, Asia. Thank you so much for being in here. It's ridiculous. SNY is now showing those disgusting ads. What ads are they showing? I actually don't know, if I'm being completely honest with you. Next attendance at City, Wardy. I don't know when I'm attending Citi Field next, but Friday with Jacob deGrom potentially towing the rubber against one of the Mets' young right-handers is enticing. It's not enticing for content reasons because it's better off if I stay at home to do content for it. But at the same time, I kind of really want to attend that game. And that's okay, Zach. But all I will say is if you're going to make a remark like that, there's no need to make it in the first place if you're not going to go ahead to say what actually it is. If you think it's controversial enough, just don't make the comment. I think it would be better off for yourself going forward. But as we continue on, in the bottom of the first, everybody, we saw a 1-2-3 rating for Jonathan as he would get a strikeout on Noel V. Marte on a fastball 97 upstairs, and Ellie De La Cruz grounded out. Jonathan spammed fastball early and often in this ball game. That was what he was doing, and that was actually eerily similar to how he had his first career start happen. But the reason as to why Tong got beat up today with that fastball was because he did not adjust early enough. He was spamming fastball upstairs, a lot of borderline calls, a lot of calls that should have been fastballs up in the zone for a strike were getting called a ball, and that was hurting Tong early in this ball game, but he still had a 1-2-3 first where he threw only one pitch that wasn't a fastball, and that was his changeup that he threw once. As we get to the second inning, it's a 1-2-3. The Mets offense goes down in order. In the bottom of the second, we would see Sal Stewart, his first home run this season there, comes after a Spencer Steer walk from Jonathan. So it's 2 runs early off Jonathan. Tong walks the first batter there of the ball game after getting 2 quick outs on Austin Hayes with a strikeout and a fly out on Gavin Lux to left. And then Sal Stewart gets all that one. Again, it's high heat. Fastball upstairs. It's going to happen. That makes it a 2-0 early Reds lead. So, okay, we say to ourselves, high fastball for Jonathan. Just try to mix things up a little bit. We know, obviously, that he's throwing a lot of high heat early. Let's see more of, variation in that arsenal with him between, obviously, the curveball, the changeup, etc. Well, unfortunately for Jonathan, he had a mistake today. And it wasn't just the fastball up, but it was also the lack of control with his changeup that we'll get into in a second. But in Cedric Mullins, a half inning later, he got out with a walk, and then he also had himself a stolen bag right now. I'm way too cool with them losing that. I'm not way too cool with them. I scream my head off with them almost every single night. I'm allowed to not scream my head off as the Mets just kind of did not do their job tonight. It's going to happen. Okay, I will scream my head off when it's prompted and when it's more warranted to do so after the Mets obviously go ahead and maybe lose the series or whatever the case may be. But Jonathan, I really can't rag on him much because he gets the pass for valid reasons. And the offense has been amazing the past month and a half. Sometimes you just don't have it. Tonight was one of those nights. As we continue on, Mullins, though, with the walk, he steals his 21st bag of the year. I think that was his 9th stolen bag or so as a Met. And he will come in to score because after Lindor gets on with a walk and a Juan Soto single, it's bases loaded for WardyNYM, who has himself a sac fly that makes it a 2-1 ball game. Then we would see Alonso get hit by the pitch, so it's bases loaded for Jeff McNeil. All we need Jeff to do is poke a single, and we're right back in this ball game. Instead, he grounds out, unfortunately. That does it there. Mets strand, bases loaded there, 2 outs. Matt McLain, who's very fastball or nothing, gets the fastball he's looking for. And this is where Jonathan, I wish Jonah had a better report on Matt McLain. All Jonathan needed to do was spam off-speed and breaking pitches. I really think that if he went more to his curveball, he would have gotten a nice strike on McLain, who strikes out at a good rate. Instead, second pitch, 95-mile-per-hour meatball, borderline strike, top of the zone. It's hit out of here for the second home run of the ball game, the 14th home run for Matt McLain this season, and it's now a 3-0 deficit, 3-1 deficit, rather, for this Mets team. Same exact situation. Fastball upstairs, just could not locate it where he wanted it, and that got barreled well out of here. Mind you, that was a liner of a home run. Cedric Mullins was really close to making that catch. Noel V. Marte with a 1-out walk. Ellie De La Cruz then would ground out everybody, and that would be a huge ground out on Ellie De La Cruz, because then we would see him, after he ground out on a force out because he's still on first base, fielder's choice, he would be caught stealing at second base because Luis Torrens makes the brilliant throw there at second base. Again, Torrens has been money. Torrens got the start over Alvarez today, which you guys can kind of expect him to flip-flop, knowing that we saw Torrens get the start today. Alvarez will be the starter tomorrow in the day game, which I think makes a lot of sense because Alvarez was just recently catching Sproat as recent as July, right? So, and Alvarez was a helping hand in Sproat getting his confidence boosted, getting set now for the major league level. And speaking of Brennan Sproat, before we wrap up the live show, we are going to get into his remarks with the media as to how he fared, now not only getting the call, but kind of his initial expectations getting set for his debut tomorrow against Hunter Green and this Reds team. As we continue on the fourth inning, guys, the Mets offense rolled over. They did nothing. Braden Singer was in his bag, and it was frustrating because I know Brady Singer isn't a bad pitcher, but the Mets made him look 10 times better than what he actually is today. They just were not able to barrel him well nearly enough. In the bottom of the fourth, we saw Austin Hayes, talk about barreling, does again. Austin Hayes, we would see rip himself a fly ball to left, his 14th home run of the year there, and that makes it a 4-1 Cincinnati Reds lead. And yes, as you guessed it, this is yet again another fastball, but this time it's not even high heat. It's 96 middle. That's what's going to happen. He turned on that one right away, and it is what it is. So Jonathan, he had 3 hits he allowed today. All of them were home runs. So what is Tong doing his adjustments afterwards? Well, he would actually walk Spencer Steer when, mind you, this is very uncharacteristic for Jonathan. In the minor leagues this year, he wasn't walking anybody at all, nor was he giving up home runs. He already gave up more home runs in this start alone than he did all year long from AA to AAA. That shows you how utterly dominant Tong was in the minor leagues, leading to an absolutely absurd north of 14 K per 9. Just stupid numbers in the best way possible. But after it becomes a 4-1 ball game, and after a one-out walk there for Spencer Steer, he would get out of it, and he would get out of it big time. He'd get a flat on South Stewart and a big strikeout. And I love the moxie from Jonathan. He doesn't hide to tell you how he feels. He throws those F-bombs out there right away as he gets that big strikeout on Jose Trevino. As we then head to the fifth inning, Francisco Lindor has himself his 31st double there. But then, again, as I mentioned earlier, he gets caught stealing between second and third, a circumstance where he should have never been running. I don't know why he was running. Why be greedy there? We're down 3 runs. You're already in scoring position. All you need to do is stay there. Instead, Soto then grounds out to end the inning. When who knows? Maybe Soto's at bat would have been slightly different if Lindor never got picked off there. Maybe Soto gets on base, or maybe even if Soto grounds out, you still then move the runner to third base with 2 outs, that being a Francisco Lindor. Like, it's just stupid. When you really think about it, it's stupid because if that same exact at-bat happened with Juan Soto and Lindor stayed at second, he would have gone to third more than likely on the ground out. So all he needed to do was just be patient. But for whatever reason, he was feeling jumpy. It came back to bite him in the ass, and the Mets are thrown out twice thanks to Francisco Lindor today in this one. In the bottom of the fifth, we would see a 1-2-3 there, thankfully for Jonathan. He gave up a leadoff walk to Matt McClain, which I really hated. I don't like Matt McClain. I think he's a very vulnerable batter. I think Matt McClain just needs to be spammed with breaking and off-speed pitches, and his ass stands no chance. However, he gets a home run and then a walk today because Jonah works around him for whatever reason. But then this is where the tide starts to change for Jonathan for the better. He gets a massive double play ball up the middle to Francisco Lindor. Lindor, as he makes the play, already has his foot on the second base bag, gets the quick toss to Alonso at first, and that's a double play. Noelvi Marte then strikes out swinging to end the inning and end it unscathed there for Jonathan. What I love so much, what we saw there about Jonathan getting the strikeout, was that he got it on the changeup down, and that was a good changeup by Jonathan to get Marte to bite. Because other than that, I did not like how Jonathan went about his changeup at all today. He was spiking that bad boy in the dirt a lot. And unlike a Brennan Sproat, who does have the sweeper in his back pocket to have more variation with these off-speed and breaking pitches, Tong doesn't have that to the same degree. And that's where we were kind of seeing the struggles that he was having, especially against left-handed batters. Now, I say that in the same breath, knowing that Sproat, in order for him to have success tomorrow against lefties, he has to make sure he doesn't spam sweeper, sinker. That is why he was getting barreled so hard in the first half this year in the minor leagues in AAA. What he has done since then in Sproat to make proper adjustments that led him to a 1.74 ERA over his past 10 starts in AAA is all to do with him going from sweepers and sinkers against lefties to spamming changeups and curveballs, going more sweeper sinker heavy against right-handers, which is what you're supposed to, especially that sweeper down and away. As long as you're not hanging it, you're going to get them to bite. It's going to happen, especially after maybe you're throwing 98 up and in. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Sproat is going to do, even though I'm very cautiously optimistic. We'll go on from there. And Asia, let's see. I just want Wardy to see it. Asia, what do you want me to see in the chat? Let's see here. Let me go up here. Asia, hold on one second. Wardy had a tough couple of days. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, no, I don't want to hear that at all. Okay, Asia, first thing I'm going to say, first and foremost, because one, you know how I feel about in regards to your mom, and my condolences and prayers are with you and your entire family still. I highly recommend for someone like yourself, who I'd imagine is probably not going out of their way right now to get the help that you do need, which you absolutely do need, as someone who has been in your shoes when it comes to those level of struggles. Please do yourself a favor, talk to someone, Talk to friends, talk to other aspects of family if you haven't already, because you should never get to the point that you feel that you're kind of seeking guidance and help from someone like me here online as a content creator, because I can only do so much for you, and you know I can only do so much for you. And I think we can both agree it's in your best interest right now to go get the help that you need. So I don't know how big or how small your circle is, but whoever is your immediate friends and family, please lean on them, because you're not alone. They too are still grieving to their varying degrees on your mother's passing. And what I would also recommend is, if you're not going to go the lengths to physically get up and go somewhere, please do yourself a favor and download the BetterHelp app. It's a really, really good way to help you at your fingertips without needing to rely on having an appointment for a certain time. You can change the therapist that you talk to on the daily without a problem, and you can message them at any point throughout the day. They will be right there at your fingertips. And I'm not saying this as a sponsor, because they're not. I've worked with them in their past, but they are a great sponsor to have, and they're a great product to have when it comes to helping people with mental health woes. So that's what I would recommend heavily. Please download the BetterHelp app. Reach out to people in your circle. Just talk to them, because it's very easy to get introverted and be alone when you're down and depressed after losing a family member. And the only way to get yourself right and to help in this time of grief is to lean on others that are going through similar fashion, and also know that they are there for you too. The same way that we here as a Mets community are here for you, are the same way that your loved ones are there for you, your friends, and again, people online in this space and BetterHelp. If you do not feel that you can get to a therapist in ample time because you're really going through those, that would be, I think, a great alternative to simply utilize it on your phone right away. Because again, unlike a typical therapist, you can reach out to them over text at any point, and they will get back to you in a very short, concise manner. So that's what I have to say about that, Asia. Thank you so much for being a great supporter. Please know that we are here with you, and know that this too shall pass. Things will get better. Unfortunately, this is the final thing I'll say about this without getting on too much of a tangent. While we can never bring back the people that we have lost, and it'll never be easy to handle the loss of someone, we have to be able to get through in life. The same way that your mother wants nothing more than for you to get through in life and to be happy, to be prospering, to be someone who is not what they currently are mentally. Think about your mom's perspective. Would she want you to be struggling as much as you are right now over her loss? No. She would want you to be thriving and be appreciating her and all the great moments she had with you, but not to the extent of you yourself getting so down that you feel like you're so lost without her that there's no other route. There are endless routes to turn. You just have to start to do them, Asia. But know that we love and appreciate you, and thank you so much again for being a great supporter. We appreciate it, seriously. As we continue on, guys, let's continue on the live show from here. And again, thank you so much for being open and vulnerable. I get it. I've been vulnerable here on the platform too, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. So know how much I appreciate you, Asia, and everyone else here in the live show. Why do we have Yankees fans in the Mets post-game show? Because she's been a longtime follower, regardless of her Yankee fandom. Well, let's not question the person who clearly is having mental health struggles right now and not being asked. I realize that might be hard for you, Jay Deadly, but let's buck up and let's be better than what we're being here, okay? All right, as we continue on, as we get to the 6th inning, we would see Pete Alonso, everybody, rip his 36th double this season, and that would tie the National League lead. So Pete Alonso continues to high horse, especially opposite field gap. He's been brilliant this season. That we have seen one right. Mark Vientos there, we saw with a walk for Marky V there in that inning. Mark Vientos would then get on with a walk, 2 on for 2 out for Brett Beatty, who unfortunately would strike out to end the inning. As we continue on from there, everybody, we would see in the bottom of the 6th inning, a 1-2-3 for Mets pitching. They would get the job done in what was a fantastic inning of work for Jonathan. Tong gets a strikeout on Gavin Lux, and that does it there for the final out. And now as we break down Jonathan and what he did versus what he did today, everybody, let me relay the following. Because Jonathan didn't look his best at all with his heavy spam of fastball usage. Needs to obviously have more variation in his game. There is no denying that in regards to Jonathan. That's hopefully something that we will see more as next start going forward. However, what we got from Jonathan today wasn't all that bad. It definitely could have been worse. And what we saw with Tong, four-seam usage was utilized 54% of the time. I want that down. I want his fastball usage around 39% of the time next time he's out there. I really want to see him utilize more of his other pitches, because we saw him sit heater until it came back to bite him, and then it came back to bite him. And then it came back to bite him again. And then it came back to bite him again. The changeup as well, missed a lot with the changeup that we saw today. He was in the dirt quite a bit. More things that, again, he's going to continue to work on. He's only 22. It's only his second start out here. We know that he's going to get better. Four-seam fastball topped out 98.5, sat 95. And the RPMs was right around 2,300. The changeup at 29% of his arsenal, topped out 89 on the velo, sat 87 actually, and was right around 1,700 on the RPMs. Curveball, 11% of the arsenal. Topped out 80, sat right around 79, and was also right around 26 to 2,700 on the spin rate. The slider, 5% of the arsenal. We would like to see that slider usage more, especially against righties. Topped at 89, sat right around 88, and was right around 22 to 2,300 on the spin rate. So, Jonathan, everybody, I'm actually going to give a grade today, knowing that's his second career start, knowing that he hunkered down and gave the Mets a scoreless 5th and 6th inning, something that these Mets starters or veterans would have done nothing with. Any other Mets starter that's a veteran right now, after giving up 4 earned runs, would have been out of the ball game and 4.2 innings top. So, because of that reason, Jonathan, I am still going to give today a 6 out of 10. I was really encouraged with his ability to rebound after giving up those long balls. And remember, he only gave up 3 hits, and just sucks that all those 3 hits unfortunately got out of the ballpark. It's one of those things where we can sit here and rag on the kid. Why rag on the kid when we clearly know what he did wrong, and it wasn't like the end-all be-all in dictating this ball game. It came down to the Mets offense not showing up and going 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. So Jonathan, I'm going to go 6 out of 10 today. Fastball usage, just hanker back a little bit. He did that a lot in his first start too, but we saw after his first start, he went like first inning or two, heavy fastball, and then he started throwing more change and curveball, but he was missing on a lot of those pitches inside of lefties in his first start. Today, we saw a lot more pitches miss, not only upstairs, but down below the zone with that changeup especially. So just things he's going to work on. We know that, but I'm not going to rag on him. 6 out of 10 is my grade that I'm giving Jonah today. I'm curious if you guys agree or disagree with that grade to all of our live and recurring viewers. As we continue on from there in regards to Jonathan, let's get on to this Mets bullpen, as they certainly did what they need to do in this one. I cringe when that bastard comes in. Who are we talking about, Antoine? What pitcher are we talking about? Or player? Because you said you cringe. You never alone in this chat room. No, you were not. Cam, thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate that. KC, thank you so much for the $5 holla. My father passed earlier this year. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. My condolences and prayers are with you and your entire family, KC. Thank you so much for your continued support. Seriously. Counseling therapy is such a massive help. Sorry to hear about your mom. Don't be afraid to be emotional. 100%. I could not have said it better myself. It's not about getting over a passing, because I don't think anyone can properly get over true loved ones and family members, but it's being able to deal with it and being able to live positively, knowing that that's what they would want you to do is the best way to step forward, as well as, again, leaning on others and doing, as I mentioned, which, again, would be to seek help through therapy, through counseling, among other things. So, Casey, thank you for relaying that. I appreciate you getting vulnerable as well. Thank you so much for that. It really does mean a lot. You've been an amazing supporter here for quite a long time now. As we continue on from here, though, everybody, it would be still Mets deficit. They're down multiple runs here. They're down 4-1 as we then head to the 7th inning. And in the 7th inning, Jared Young says, let's get ourselves back in this ball game. Because what does Jared Young do, everybody? Jared Young goes ahead and blasts his 4th home run of the year. But mind you, this was a pinch hit home run. The first pinch hit home run the Mets have had this season that we have seen. Kind of crazy. And this comes off of Scott Barlow, former Kansas City Royals reliever, who comes in relief with his 3.7 ERA. And he gives up a home run. Crazy enough, look at where he gave up the home run to Jared Young. This was a big boy home run by Jared Young. This was a roughly 400-foot bomb, 106 off the bat. But look at the placement of this pitch. Guys, that's a legit big boy home run. He took slider down the zone, straight out of here to right. Like, when he tanked that, I was like, oh shit, Mets might still be in this one. Jared Young, when in doubt, young it out, baby. What a great job that he did. So give credit where credit's due, guys. Jared Young is only going to be utilized in very limited sample sizes while he's on this Mets bench. But he came in and did exactly what you could hope for in that circumstance. You cannot have asked for a better situation from Jared Young there, coming in to pinch hit. And mind you, he came in to pinch hit for Luis Torrens, as Alvarez would come in for the remainder of the ball game. And that was vital. Like, that gave the Mets, in that moment at least, some semblance of life. So thank you so much to Jared Young. That made it a 2-run ball game at the time. Unfortunately, that would be as far as the Mets would really get in this one when it came to actually being down in this game. It's a 2-run deficit for the Mets, but then Lindor grounds out. Soto gets on with a 2-out walk. He steals his 29th bag of the year. Insane. Juan Soto. Guys, in case you were unaware as to what Juan Soto has been doing with stealing bags, Juan Soto has stolen 9 bags over his past 14 games. He is on pace to be just the 16th player in Major League Baseball history to have himself a 40 home run and 30-plus stolen bag season. So, yeah, Juan Soto is really having himself a tremendous first year with the Mets. By all accounts, he's doing more. I would argue that Juan Soto now is doing more for the Mets this season than what we could have fathomed, because no one expected Juan Soto to be competent as a base runner. Juan Soto is literally one of the better base runners in all baseball right now. That's not an exaggeration. He's going to finish a year with, honestly, Soto might F around and have 35 to 40 stolen bags before the season ends. He's one away from getting to 30. We still have weeks worth of baseball to be had here. There's absolutely a world where Juan Soto still has more to offer than what he's giving you base running right now, which is so crazy to think for the same man that was literally a year removed from a career high or so of 12 stolen bags. Like, he's not, this is the difference in great personnel with this Mets front office and coaching staff, because the Yankees got the absolute worst base running and defense imaginable out of Juan Soto. Like, dog shit defense, horrendous base running. And you want to know why? It's because they themselves are not fundamentally sound as an organization, front office down. That's why the Yankees suck terribly with their defense more often than not, year by year. That's why the Yankees base running is so fickle, because, again, not just the roster, but they don't know how to adapt. They're so reliant on the long ball. Whereas the Mets and Antoine Richardson, Mets first base coach, has been so unbelievably good. And I don't know what about Richardson's approach has been different this year versus last year, but it's working. It's working big time, because he's helping so many guys get clear jumps from first to second, and rarely second to third. And I say rarely because, again, I don't want to see guys acting like Lindor today, thinking that they have a given of a stolen bag, trying to get in a third, and bam, they're out by a mile from Trevino. But great base running by Juan Soto. That's certainly a positive takeaway from this one. As we head to the bottom of the seventh, because Mets don't do anything, Ryan Stanek comes in, and Stanek is as advertised. He gives up a leadoff single to Spencer Steer, a one-out single to Jose Trevino. Matt McLain, then, we would see get on with a walk. It's a bases loaded there for Ryan Stanek. And it's a 5-2 ball game, as TJ Friedl does not get a double play ball this time, but instead it's an RBI single, and that continues the line. Noelvi Marte would strike out, but then Ellie De La Cruz gets on with a walk, and that makes it 6-2 Mets. So Ryan Stanek can't get the job done. Kevin Herget comes in, and he walks a run to come in, but it would be charged on Stanek. And then Austin Hayes lines out, but not before the Reds add some much-needed insurance and make it a 6-2 Reds lead as we head in the eighth inning. And the eighth, Alonso strikes out a foul tip. Terrible at bat. McNeil gets on with a single day, pulls to the right side. Beatty doubles his 12th of the year. Guys, Brett Beatty is such a dog. Every single game, Beatty does something. Every single game right now. If it really feels that way. Almost every game, Beatty's doing something of productivity, and I appreciate that a lot from him. He puts the runners at second and third there for Alvarez, who comes in, and Alvarez's first at-bat of the night, unfortunately, as I mentioned, gets caught looking on the breaking ball a little upstairs, and that does it for the eighth. And the bottom of the eighth, 1-2-3 there for Kevin Herget, who did a fantastic job on Lux to Spear to Brian Hayes. And the ninth, Cedric Mullins strikes out swinging in a really bad at-bat against Emilio Pagan. Francisco Lindor hits his second double of the night, his 32nd of the year. I said 33rd earlier. I apologize for that, everybody. 32nd of the season, and that puts a runner in scoring position. Soto pokes a single opposite field, as I mentioned. A wild pitch allows the runner to score from third, that being in Lindor, to make it a 3-6 ball game. But Nimmo strikes out swinging in what was a really tough at-bat, and then Alonso strikes out swinging. Emilio Pagan sits down the Mets' top bats like it's nothing, and the Mets go on to lose this one by a final score of 6-3. As we continue on in this one, everybody, Mets bullpen today, they're great because Ryan Stanek was ass, but Herget was good. I'm only grading 2 pitchers today, so because one was bad and one was good, I'm going to give the grade a 5 out of 10. In regards to the Mets offense, as I mentioned, they went 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position, out-hit the Reds 9-6. That's what pisses me off most about losing a game like this. You out-hit the team 9-6, you can only score 3 measly runs to the Reds 6. They had superior hitting in this one. They had the quality hitting with the home runs, and they just had the situational hitting when they needed to in the ways that the Mets certainly did it. Lindor today, 3 for 4. Big game for Lindor, but terrible base running. 270 average, 808 OPS. Really, really happy to see that. Wardy, I'm rooting for the Mets for my mom, despite me being a Yankees fan. Good luck with your Steelers tomorrow. Thank you so much, Asia. Again, know that we love and appreciate you. We're all thinking about you. I really do hope that you take my advice from what you had relayed, because if you're going to be that vulnerable with me, then at minimum, please take to heart the things that I said and know how important you are and know how much you are loved and appreciated. Thank you so much for all the support, Asia. Best of luck with your Giants tomorrow. I appreciate you. Lindor, 3 for 4 today, 270, 808. Soto, 2 for 4 with the walk as well, 263 average, 925 on base. Nimmo, 0 for 3 with an RBI, 265 average, 781 OPS. Alonso, 1 for 4. Bad day at the plate, though. Alonso is, over his past 2 days, so far this series, is 1 for 9. 269 average, 866 OPS. McNeil, 1 for 4, 265 average, 807 OPS. Vientos, 0 for 3 with 243 average, 735 OPS. Beatty, 1 for 4, 251 average, 736 OPS. Terens, 0 for 2, 225 average, 635 OPS. Jared Young, 1 for 1 with the home run, 190 average, 739 OPS. Alvarez, 0 for 263 average, 778 OPS. And Mullins, 219 average, 703 OPS. And that's how the cookie crumbles in regards to the Mets offense crumbling in this one. Now, what do I want to get into before we wrap up the show? Because I'm going to be wrapping up the live stream very shortly. This is not going to be too long-winded of one. We got the day game tomorrow, a quick turnaround, and again, there leaves a lot to be desired from breaking down tonight's 6-3 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. However, there is one thing that I was very adamant on relaying each and every one of you, and that were the remarks from Brandon Sproat speaking to the media earlier today as he gets set for his Major League debut that we're all excited to see.
A lot of emotions.
So Brandon Sproat, on the advice Brandon Nimmo gave him ahead of his first start.
A lot of emotions. I talked to Nimmo earlier, and he told me one thing. He was like, whether it's before your outing, during your outing, I want you to take 15 seconds and just look around and just soak it all in, because whenever your debut is done, you're going to realize, oh, wow, it's already over. So he said, he told me to do that, and it makes a lot of sense. He's been there before. And so definitely going to go out there tomorrow and just look around, find my family in the stands, and just soak it all in.
Someone said, is this guy middle school? It's funny, especially because Sproat doesn't have the mustache like he was rocking during the season. Him and Jonathan are really making the youth movement look young, to say the least, in this rotation, for sure.
To the news, your parents' reaction to the news?
The same as mine. We sat there and cried for some time together. Just everything we've been through this year. They're my backbone. They've been through it all with me.
Your parents'
Mind you, everybody, what's very exciting about Brandon Sproat entering the fold, if he can hopefully blossom, is as we head into 2026, the Mets are going to F around and have some Florida Gators. And I know you might hate that if you're a Florida Gators hater. However, I'm not. I don't have any OO against the Florida Gators. I don't really have a reason to. And outside of Pete Alonso, who obviously did some great work there during his time in Florida, so can be said about Brandon Sproat and Christian Scott, who were teammates together as they had some tremendous winning ways during their time with the Gators. So both Scott and Sproat are anticipated to be in this Mets rotation together in 2026, and that is pretty sick. If the Mets still had Harrison Bader, if he wasn't a schmuck doing great things for the Phillies right now, he would be another Gator that we would talk about as well. But it is pretty cool. There is absolutely reality where next season the Mets have 2 Florida Gators that were teammates at Florida together in their rotation next season. Really, really cool. So as we continue on, Brandon Sproat saying how emotional he was, rightfully so, from getting the call up. Now let's hear some more key remarks from him. Dodgers lost. Love to see it. Love to see it.
Lane and Tong all here at the same time. Does it feel like the Mets could be getting a glimpse at their future here?
I think so. There's a ton of talent up here, a ton of talent in the minors. Seeing what Nolan's done so far, it's incredible. Seeing Jonah's debut, that's incredible as well. There's other guys in AAA that are having really good success, in AA having great success. I think the Mets have a great farm system, and they do things right. So I think there's a bright future for us.
Another fun fact about Brandon Sproat that should not be understated is that the Mets drafted him twice. Billy Epler drafted Brandon Sproat initially. Sproat said, respectfully, no thank you, I'm going back to school. So what did the Mets do? They doubled up and spent the premium basically to then draft him again. And the fact that Sproat accepted to be drafted again after going back to school and to see how much great development he's had in this farm, I think is all you need to know. It's guys like him, it's guys like Tong, it's guys like McLean who 5 to 10 years ago would have been saying on how, the Mets really didn't give them all that much help in their player development. Now it's such a driver that this is really going to entice more and more guys that want to be here. Like, more guys are not going to want to deny and want to go back to school right away when the Mets draft them. The Mets are really getting a positive turn in regards to player development and what they have done over the past couple years now. But especially under David Stearns is Andy Green and Chris Gross over the past year and a half, they have really done a great job with the farm, for sure. Sproat on his initial reaction as to when he got called up.
The reaction when you found out, and how did you find out?
The manager pulled me into the office, and he was like, "Hey, you're gonna throw a touch and field today." I'm like, "I'm throwing Friday." Like tomorrow, it would have been yesterday. He's like, "No, you're gonna throw a touch and field." And I was confused. I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because you're going to Cincinnati. You're starting Sunday." And I just I held it together. Told them thank you, and then went and called my dad, called my mom, and broke down into tears. So it was super awesome.
Well,
love that. Again, I'm excited for Brandon Sproat, and kind of the same way that we reacted to Jonathan today is the way that I hope most of you Mets fans properly react tomorrow. I get it. We're in a playoff race. You want to win every single game, but let's remember the fact that it's not the kid's fault that David Stearns didn't do enough for the rotation in the first half. It's not the kid's fault that every veteran and their mother in this rotation has been incompetent for a month and a half plus now. It's not the kids' fault that the Mets have reached dire need that they need to rely on the kids to stay afloat here in this playoff race. What we have to look at is 3 unbelievably inexperienced pitchers with endless upside and appreciate everything that they give us and understand that these are learning lessons, stepping stones when things don't go right. I just want to reiterate that tomorrow because, guys, there's a great reality that Brandon Sproat looks awesome, and there's also a great reality that Brandon Sproat looks easily like the most vulnerable pitcher that the Mets have amongst himself, Jonathan, and Noah McLean. We have no clue how that game is going to go in Cincy, but it's a batter's park against a Reds team that's in desperate need of winning ways to stay somewhat afloat in this wild card race. And the Mets are facing Hunter Green, who, while they have hit in the past, is having a brilliant season and has made great adjustments for that Reds team, which is why he has right around a 2.7 ERA or so. Can the Mets beat up on another really good Reds starter like they did against Abbott in Game 1? It's possible. It definitely wouldn't shock me. But all I'm saying is, whatever happens tomorrow, everybody, just be mentally prepared for it. If Sproat gets rocked, don't rag on the kid. It's his MLB debut. That's the worst thing we could possibly do to him. It is what it is. We're just going to focus on what he did wrong and what he could do right going out there. Let's also remember one final thing that should not be forgotten is that Brandon Sproat was the 3rd pitching prospect considered. There's a reason why Brandon Sproat was not called up until now over Nolan McLean or Jonathan. The Mets, as of now, while they like Sproat, do not necessarily view him in the same regard as McLean, the same way that they don't view Tong in the same regard as McLean, because they're all different pitchers. But I just want everyone to grasp and understand this before we get set for that game tomorrow, because it's going to suck if we lose the series wholeheartedly. I 1,000% agree, but do not rag on the kid. Not his problem. It's our problem and the Mets' problem for not doing enough with the rotation that's led them to the point of going no stone unturned now, which is what they should be doing, but going down to their last options. We lose tomorrow. It's not. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Even if Sproat gets rocked, he gets rocked. It is what it is. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. That's all that can be said at this point in time. So, having said that, everybody, I'm gonna get out of here. One little tidbit: if I'm not live directly after the ball game tomorrow, that's because I'm locked in on the Steelers game transparently. I have little to no free time as a young dad now, especially, and I'm really trying to get locked in on my football season. So if I'm just a smidge late to my post-game show, win, lose, or draw tomorrow, that's why. I would actually like to try to enjoy some Sunday football because if I'm being honest, I really can't remember the last time that I got a chance to watch any sports game close to an entirety, really, or the past couple years because of how locked in I am with the Mets every single day. So I miss my Rangers, I miss my Knicks, I miss Duke, I miss every other team that I'm a fan of because of it, and that's the sacrifice I make. But I really want to watch this Jets-Steelers game. So unless the Jets are blowing the doors off Rodgers and the Steelers early, I will probably be locked in on the game in its entirety. I might be reacting to it even in our live show tomorrow if it's not done yet, but say the Mets game is done. So until then, everybody, we will see how it goes. Good luck to everybody, to my Jets fans out there. I wish you nothing but the worst tomorrow, but no, it's nothing personal. It's just tomorrow. I got nothing against the Jets. I root for you guys all the time. My guy Richie at Jets Media, who's a great content creator, will be hosting an event to over 100 strong Jets fans. I was supposed to be in attendance. I'm not attending now. I'm kind of glad I'm not, because I would be the only Steelers fan in that group, funny enough. But he's hosting a massive event at at MetLife Stadium tomorrow, so I'm very happy for him. Check out Jets Media for a pregame live show on YouTube for the Jets-Steelers matchup. If you're a Giants fan, good luck to all my Giants fans out there. To whoever you're a fan of in the football space, unless your team played, if you're a bandwagon Chiefs fan or a Chargers fan as they played in Brazil this past night, or 2 nights ago if you're a Cowboys fan, because you're probably a Lakers fan and a Yankees fan too somehow watching this as the Cowboys lost to the Eagles. Whatever you are in your football fandom, good luck. Football Sunday is here. Now let's see how the Mets can do in the rubber match against the Reds in Cincy. Thank you guys again so much. Ryan, great member, 14 months. Let's go, Spurt. Let's go, G-Men. Love this community. Love you so much, Ryan. Thank you so much for the support. D-Mac, Rebecca, Levin, all you guys. Appreciate the kind words. I will see you all mañana for more Mets coverage. Peace out, folks. And as always, no matter what,